Hey YouTube, Mike the Rinnai guy here. How we all doing today? I hope we all had a safe and productive week and we're all being safe out there. I'm finally finished with that hotel that we've been doing, my son and I. 27 rooms, repiped the whole thing, 3,300 feet of pipe, and a CHS 199 demand duo. We finally finished it on Thursday. Oh, thank God we're out of there. But we're doing well. Alrighty, today's video is probably the second or third biggest question that I get, and that is the gas piping. And we're going to continue with the RUR 199 because it's the largest unit, the 199,000 BTUs, and we're going to go over the different gas piping, which is the pounds or inches that will be going to the unit, and how it should properly look when it's installed. All right, so basically you have a customer that has a water heater and they want to replace it with a Rinnai unit, and you're going to be putting in it could be an RL75, it could be an RL94, it could be one of the condensing units, but you're going to pretty much top out at 199,000 BTUs. And it's pretty much going to be the largest gas use appliance in the home. Even if you have steam heat, you're going to be around 160,000. Forced air could be 125, and then stoves, dryers, fireplaces, grills, they go down less and less and less. But that appliance most likely will be the last appliance on the run, which means that all the other appliances, as they're being used, could steal gas away from the tankless heater. And you'll end up with a code 12, you're in a code 11, where you're going to get an ignition or flame failure, and the unit's not going to work. Or it may work on high fire, and when it goes to low fire, that's when it conks out. So, what do you do if you have that problem? Well, for starters, you need to get yourself a national gas chart. And then on the chart, it tells you what type of pipe is being run. So if you have black pipe, if you have CSST, the track pipe, whether it's a home run or one run, but most of the time you're going to find it's going to be black pipe. Here in Florida, it's pretty much all is track pipe, but in, I would say, a good majority of the United States, you're going to find black pipe. And they sized it for either 40 or a 50,000 BTU water heater, and it's going to have ½ inch coming out. Now, if the run is, say, 30 feet, 25, 30 feet, 35 feet, you can increase that to 3/4, bring it up to the tankless, and you'll be fine. But a lot of times it's 60, 70 feet away, and you're going to need to get more gas to the unit. And the best way to do it is to take a gas line from the meter and have the meter upgraded to 2 pounds. Now, you go to your local utility company and you find out what is coming in. A lot of times you could read the front of the gas meter. Now, I'm getting a gas meter from my local utility company to make as a prop. We're going to go over that in another video. But you call your gas company, they'll be more than happy to tell you what you have at this house or at this building. Okay, now, if you have inches, you're going to have the meter upgraded. Now, whether it's a fee, it's not a fee, it's totally up to the utility company, but you're going to get the meter upgraded. So now let's go over to the dry erase board, and we're going to go over a typical piping, and then we're going to show you the tankless heater. All right, let me just get that zoomed in a little bit. All right, so in a typical application where you upgraded the meter to a 2-pound system, you're going to have the line coming up out of the ground to a first stage regulator. Now that regulator is going to take down here, which could be 5 or 10 pounds, and it's going to reduce it to this side to be 2 pounds. A lot of the 2-pound meters are marked either with a sticker or on a plate, or they have a red face here. And that will indicate to you that that's a 2-pound meter. But they're normally marked on a plate right on the meter. So coming out of the meter, now you're going to have 2 pounds of gas. You're going to want a test key there. A lot of times the utility company will provide that meter for you set it, put the test tee in, and then put a valve right here that you now can control the downstream gas. So now you have 2 pounds running however 60, 70, 80, 90 feet, 100 feet to a regulator now, and we will lose the dry erase board, to a regulator. Now we use the Pietro Florentine, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Now that regulator at 3/4 of an inch with a black spring is going to give you 8 to 14 inches of water column, and it's good for 1.1 million BTUs, way more than what you need for the tankless, way more than you need for the whole house. Then the regulator that's your second stage. Then it's going to go up into your tankless. But there is a specific distance that regulator has to be from the tankless heater. Now let's go over to the prop of the tankless heater, and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, so here is a typical gas where we would run a track pipe gas line, you know, say through the attic, through the ceiling, through the garage. We'll come out. Now we have 3/4 inch at 2 pounds. We want to put a valve in. That valve is controlling, so we can repair the regulator and the tankless. And then the regulator, which this is a 3/4 inch Pietro Florentine. So this is the box right here. And let's see, here we go. You see here? I'm going to put it in the description below, but it has a black spring. This is all we use. Unless it's a 10-pound propane system and we use a different regulator. That regulator is good 2 pounds in, 8 to 14 inches out for propane and natural gas. So we use that regulator for pretty much all our jobs. Unless we have a 10-pound system, and then we use a different type of regulator, and that we'll get into later, not to make this so long. All right, so your regulator needs to be at least 30 or better inches, 30, 36 inches away from the appliance. All right? Reason is, a regulator, what it does is it takes higher pressure gas, 2 pounds. It brings it into this diaphragm, and the spring is set at that rate, and it pushes down on the diaphragm. When that pressure, and it wants gas on this side to start flowing into the tankless, it moves the diaphragm with spring pressure and allows the gas to come in. When you put this regulator jammed up to here, I've seen them made right up to this male fitting. What happens is you get regulator lockup. Now, in a good majority of the time, the regulator will not work. But in some instances, the regulator will work with the full 2 pounds going through it. And it will cause the gas valve to lock out because the gas valve is only designed. Now, on the side of these units, there's minimum and maximum BTU. Left side rating plate, minimum and maximum BTUs. So on this unit here, we have, so minimum BTUs is 15,000, maximum is 199. Okay, we have 10.5 inches max of water column, 3.5 inches minimum. Water column, that's how much that gas will lift water up 1 inch. All right. So when this is jammed in there, the regulator diaphragm opens up and allows the 2 pounds of gas into the system. That is pretty much the main problem that we have down here in Florida, is that this regulator, and they use these regulators, are put anywhere from here to here. No working distance. You need a little bit of working distance between the regulator and this in order for it to operate correctly. You also need to have the vent, and once we take the regulator off, and I'm going to show you the difference in what you do with the vent, that vent needs to be clear. Now, in certain regulators, you have to vent them outside. They have to be clear. There need to be a screen in there. If the vent gets clogged, there is no equalization of pressure on the other side, the outlet side of the regulator, and that will cause the regulator basically to shut down and give almost no gas. Restaurants, they are the biggest culprit with dirty vent limiters or dirty vents. Their grease gets in there, and what ends up happening is that the pilots go out. Now they can't light the pilots, they can't light the burners. We just go in there, we clean out the regulator vent, boom, there's gas back in. So regulators can be finicky, but if they're maintained and taken care of, when you come to do a service on the Tankless and you have done a 2-pound system and put a regulator in, service the vent. And again, when I take it off, we'll bring it to the camera and I'll show you. All right, so this is our basic setup. Track pipe, and then we basically can hard pipe it in. And the distance from that regulator to here is 30 inches. That would pretty much be the best amount of distance. If it's an outside tankless, you can get a little bit more. But of course, if this is of course roughed in differently, you're going to have to do some loop-to-loop. If you go on a service call, on a brand new installation that somebody else has installed and they can't figure out why they're getting a code 12 and the unit's not operating, you show up there and you find that regulator jammed right up against the tankless. Now, to make a quick fix, what we do is we actually unscrew the top half of the regulator. We take track pipe, around 30 inches of track pipe, and we make a big loop. So we come out of the regulator, we loop down and back up into it. Now we got the full 30 plus inches. The thing works, Bob's your uncle. All right, so this is how it should look on a tankless heater, whether it's an inside one or an outside one. If this ends up being 30, 40 inches, the better. It will work fine. You don't want the regulator so far away because then you defeat the purpose of having the 2 pounds to give this appliance the proper amount of gas. All right, now that's a 2-pound system. What do you do if you have an inches system and the meter so you're going to do one in the garage? Like this is what we have. Water heater in the garage, right on the other side of the wall, 18, 20, 24 inches away is the gas meter. The gas just comes right in, but it's 1/2 inch. What do? Well, we unscrew everything to the nipple coming out of the wall. We put like a 3/4 by 1/2 elbow. Then we put our valve and we make a loop. So basically, we do the same thing. We do not need the regulator because there's inches now coming into the house. And then we attach it with a flex. Now you can use track pipe, 2 track pipe adapters and a piece of track pipe. Or we use, now I'm going to bring both of these over. We use a high flow 3/4 inch flex. Now this happens to be an appliance flex. We buy them in one size. This is 30 inches long. We normally get them with a male thread and a male thread. We were out of them, and the only ones we had were the ones we use for like commercial appliances. So this is the size. You see the size? That is full 3/4. This here is a 1/2 inch gas flex. Look at the difference in the size between the two of them. This will produce 325,000 worth of BTU. This thing will only do around 100,000, maybe a little less. Now, these units can run on a 1/2 inch gas line. Yeah, and they'll work. But what I believe and what I have found is by increasing the gas line to 3/4, you give this unit more volume, a little bit more volume of gas in that pipe. If other appliances turn on upstream, you also have to take into consideration the area that you're in. And like where I was in New York, everything was natural gas, including the heat and the stove and the dryer and fireplaces and grills. The neighborhood, when it's cold out and their boilers start up, like say 4 or 5 in the morning to start heating the house before the people get up, the thermostats turn the boilers on, or the forced hot air. that is going to take gas until the system equalizes. So that's why we run strictly 3/4. Even if we have a 1/2 inch gas line, we increase it to 3/4 and bring it back up. All right, let me use my Rinnai guy wrench hands and unscrew and take this regulator off so we can now go over the regulator. And let me grab another part that's part of the regulator, and I'll put these other two little things in my pocket. Okay, so here's a regulator. The pietrofluorine aluminum, inside, outside, natural propane, black spring, can be put in the horizontal or vertical position. Don't cock it, don't put it on an angle. It's either going to go like that, horizontal, and it's going to go in the vertical. There is an arrow. You need to watch the arrow. There is an arrow of flow direction. What we do is I take a black magic marker, just like the check valves, and I put 2 arrows right on the top here when I'm going to install it, so I know the direction. But the best way to tell is the vent. The vent is on the outlet side, so if the vent is going to the appliance, you're in the right direction. Now, this is a vent limiter. And let me take the piece out of the pocket. This is a vent limiter. And what this does, there's a little hole in here that will breathe and expel overpressure. So it'll breathe in to equalize the diaphragm, but if it's overpressure, it'll spit out. And it can be put inside, and it limits the amount of gas that comes out. Now, you can unscrew this, and it's a 1/4 inch pipe thread. Then you would just put a short 1/4 inch nipple and a 1/4 by 3/4 coupling, and then 3/4 inch PVC outside if your local code states that you have to vent this outside. So it's a 1/4 inch nipple, very short. You want to go to 3/4 inch, because if you run 1/4 all the way out, it's gonna malfunction. You have to increase it. All right, because of the run, it's not going to breathe. All right, now, if the unit is installed outside, you unscrew this. Now, it is a little bit of a booger to unscrew these. They are pretty tight. So you have to grab it just by this boss, and we use a small adjustable wrench. We put them on a vise, and we do it prior to us installing it. Then you're going to put this little rain cap on. This rain cap screws right into the pietro, so it actually makes its own threads, screws down, and now it prevents water from getting in here. But you have to watch when you put it outside, the lawn sprinkler system. That could shoot water up into here. So again, when you go service the tankless, check this. You can always unscrew this. Don't go sticking no pointy objects in here, because as you can see, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little tiny hole in there. You want to vacuum it or blow it out. All right? So this is your, and then your adjustment. Let me grab a pair of pliers here. Your adjustment here, this comes from the factory set at 8 inches of water column. So you're going to unscrew the top of this, and it also is a large Allen key. You're going to unscrew the top of this right here, and inside you're going to see there's an adjustment, and that's going to take a 5/8 inch Allen key, and you're going to screw it down to give it more pressure, because it's set from the factory at 8 inches, and you want around 9.5, 10 inches of water column. 9.5 inches for this unit. So you're going to adjust this, and we're going to show you what, where, and how you're going to adjust it, because the two tools today are the second set of tools that Rinnai tells you to have when you're going to talk to a tech. All right, on these tankless heaters, and again, once we take the camera off, I'll show you. On these tankless heaters, you're going to find this fitting. This is the gas inlet fitting, but this is the older style gas inlet fitting. And what this has is a test port right here. This test port for the older is going to take a 3/16 Allen key, and you're going to take off this plug, this little 1/4 inch plug. And then your test fitting for your manometers is 3 different types. You have a regular tube, which you're going to find few and far between with this just tube. And then you're going to find this one, which is going to be used for this type. So you screw this in, and then you put this end into the manometer. And then that will now, and of course it's mounted right here on the bottom of this, where this T is mounted, and we're going to show you this one in a minute. Now when you turn your gas on, your manometer is going to tell you what pressure is coming in, and then you're going to adjust the regulator so that you can get the pressure you want at the tankless static, so that when the tankless fires, the pressure will drop and then it'll operate correctly. So now I'm going to set up this manometer. We're going to take the camera off, and I'm going to show you what it should look like. This is the other port right here. It's a cup fitting. On a lot of the newer gas appliances, they have this. And all you need is a Phillips screwdriver. And if you ever call up Rinnai Tech, it says to be in front of the product with a Phillips screwdriver, a manometer, and a multimeter. So we went through the Phillips screwdriver last week. We're going to go through the other 2 right now. All right, you're going to take off this screw. And it's basically a machine screw with a washer. So instead of having that plug, you have this screw. All right, don't lose it and have extras. And you're going to put the cup onto the boss of the fitting. Then you're going to take your manometer, and I'm going to show you the manometers in a minute. They're made by Fieldpiece. I found them to be the best manometers around. And it magnetizes right to the front of the unit. So let's grab this off and show you this quick. So there's the, you see here, let's just take this off. You see that's where the screw was, and then this just slips right on, push it all the way in. It makes a good seal. And now, of course, the regulator was down here, and once you turn it on, and that's how it's going to look. All right? All right, let's put this back up. So that's going to be how you're going to test your gas pressure. You're going to screw the thing in slowly, watching the manometer build up, and you're going to let it sit for a couple of minutes so it equalizes itself. Make sure you got the proper. Now you don't want 10.5 into the unit. Like I said, you want around 9, because when it starts at low fire, it's going to drop. When it goes to high fire, it's going to drop even more. But you don't want to drop below the 5, because then, I mean, I've seen them work at 4 or 5, but they're just working, they're not working at their optimal efficiency. Okay? So that's why you want to set this. On the low pressure system, where you have inches, it's pretty much going to be about 8 coming in. So that's your manometer setup. All right, so you got all that. You got the, you know, at least 36 inches away for the regulator. Not jammed, not even a couple of inches away. You wanted that distance away so that you're preventing regulator lockup. All right, YouTube? All right, let me now show you Let's take the manometer down, and I'll take the multimeter. The two tools, now these are on my new service bag. I use called Fieldpiece. It is a dual port manometer. Because a lot of times I have two tanklesses, especially in larger homes. And I can put two of those into port 1 and port 2. It also will do vacuum and it'll do temperature. So you're getting like a 4-piece meter with one. I also like and have used, and we have 3 of each. They work phenomenal. This is Fieldpiece's multimeter, and it's also the clamp meter, so I can basically check all different types of electric. Another one that is magnetized. Now they do come in a little case. I like to put them in the VitaPro bags. They have a lot of padding in it. But the leads for the check ohms, voltage, we have the red and black leads that actually, they'll come off, and I can go larger or I can go smaller. They're removable, so I can add these to them. These are the micro leads. These micro leads are needed to get in behind Rinnai's plugs to check the ohms. These bigger ones will not fit. You need these little micro leads. And again, I'll have all the the model numbers and names in the description below. All right, so that is the gas end of it. Remember, find out from your utility company what you have, what it's going to take to give you a 2-pound system. Get yourself a good, and then laminated, national gas chart. A lot of these companies will provide you, like Track Pipe, will provide you with a chart. All right? A lot of your local plumbing codes that incorporate gas will have it in the code book. Take it out, make a copy, and I laminated it. It's in my truck. I don't want to remember all this stuff. If I need to know, I'll look it up. And you got to go by it. If you're going to go with gas, an existing gas line, you need to calculate first appliance, second appliance, third appliance, fourth appliance, tankless. You need to calculate it and then run back and just make sure that that pipe size is correct. But you'll never fail if you run a dedicated line from the meter to the tankless. And if you look at my second video, we did that. We put in an older style RU98 and attached it to the original gas piping. And the thing was not working correctly. It was working and never coded out. Well, I was unhappy. So we basically tapped in and ran a gas line up, over the door, down. It was about 50 feet, put a regulator in, piped it in with some track pipe, and the thing worked flawlessly. So that'll show you exactly what we had to do in a real job. All right, YouTube? How do you like the new shirts? You like the new shirts? We needed new shirts, and I figured let me put the Rinnai logo on it. So, unfortunately, I do not sell them. So, I'm sorry. We don't sell them. All right, YouTube. Email in the description below. Keep them coming to me. Mike, John, Chris, David, Phil, and Jose, and then the other plumber. I'm sorry I did not get your name. I know you didn't call me yet. You guys that called me from California, I hope I was helpful. It was a pleasure talking to you guys, and I'm glad you converted from the tankless that you were using to Rinnai. All right, so I hope I was helpful, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys. I just want to let you know. Okay? All right, guys. You'll be safe out there. I'll see you on the next video, and have your customers enjoy their endless hot water. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.